I was thinking today the last time you were
You
on
know
this
how long
show.
ago? Do you know they told me
Well,
backstage?
I can't believe it.
We must be bitter enemies.
What happens when legends of the Golden Age, adored by millions, show their true colors behind the scenes? From an explosive temper to secretive scandals, Johnny Carson's show was a stage for both the dazzling and the disturbing. Join us as we dive into the darker side of Hollywood's biggest names, those who were celebrated in public but whose private behavior left a trail of controversy. For example, did the charming Frank Sinatra's fame come at the cost of those around him? The truth behind these stars may shock you. 9. Mickey Rooney. Accounts of inappropriate behavior by actor Rooney have circulated widely, particularly regarding his treatment of young female staff members. Several instances have come to light where Rooney was reported to have engaged in unwanted physical contact, including touching that made staff members uncomfortable. In addition to these physical violations, there were numerous allegations of suggestive comments made by Rooney, often in the presence of subordinates. The actor's behavior became a subject of concern, with some witnesses describing him as being intoxicated during these incidents, further compounding the discomfort felt by those around him. Carson, who worked alongside Rooney, was particularly affected by these reports. His discomfort grew as the stories about Rooney's conduct became more widespread, and Carson began distancing himself from the actor. Carson reportedly made efforts to address the situation, attempting to apologize to the affected staff members on Rooney's behalf, recognizing the profound impact these actions had on them. Carson's efforts were seen as an attempt to maintain the dignity of the show and ensure the well-being of the crew, though the tension within the workplace remained palpable. The fallout from Rooney's behavior eventually influenced Carson's decision to reduce his public appearances on the show. Although Carson had been a staple of the program, the growing unease surrounding the atmosphere on set weighed heavily on him. His decision to pull back symbolized his desire to distance himself from an environment that, to him, had become increasingly toxic. The decision was a reflection not only of his own discomfort, but also of his responsibility as a public figure to ensure that the workplace was one where respect and professionalism prevailed. The combination of personal discomfort and the cultural shifts surrounding workplace behavior led to a significant change in Carson's career trajectory. Think this one is shocking? Wait until you see what's coming next. 8. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford, one of Hollywood's most notorious stars, is often remembered for her stunning performances on screen. However, behind the scenes, Crawford's behavior was less glamorous. Her cruelty, particularly toward a young production assistant, was well documented by those who worked with her. Known for her demanding personality, Crawford would regularly subject crew members to emotional torment, expecting them to fulfill her unreasonable requests at any cost. On one occasion, she reportedly had a young assistant fired simply for failing to meet one of her detailed and absurd demands, setting a tone of fear and submission on set. The way Crawford behaved showed her need to control all aspects of the movie set. She established a reputation for making detailed demands that required multiple elaborations. The actress required changes to the set design because she wanted specific colors and props, which resulted in production delays. The strict standards he required, together with his unpredictable demands, created disorder, which impeded production and caused problems for staff members who wanted to create a successful show. The acting skills of some performers enabled them to work professionally during challenging times, while Crawford's harsh leadership style made it hard for other actors to perform their jobs. Johnny Carson, the famous host of a talk show, shared multiple personal encounters with Joan Crawford. His first-hand observations showed that Crawford demonstrated both coldness and calculating behavior as an actress. He observed that Crawford used her skill at social manipulation to create situations that enabled her to control everything while keeping people away from her. The people who encountered her experienced fear from her terrifying behavior. Personal stories shared by Carson match up with future disclosures, which showed Crawford had a history of abusing her kids. The way she treated others at work showed the same harshness that her children experienced through mistreatment and emotional abuse in their home life. The public image of Crawford as a beautiful yet misunderstood star began to disintegrate when her actual abusive behavior and manipulative tendencies became public knowledge. 7. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, one of the most iconic entertainers of the 20th century, cultivated a larger-than-life persona both on and off the stage. Known for his smooth vocals and magnetic charisma, Sinatra's personal life, however, was far less glamorous. Behind the curtain of fame, Sinatra exhibited aggressive and intimidating behavior, particularly toward those working for him. Staff members frequently found themselves at the mercy of his volatile temper, with reports of him belittling, bullying, and dismissing those around him without a second thought. His entourage, often a group of loyal but intimidating figures, only added to the sense of unease. They created a charged, hostile atmosphere that permeated not just the set of his performances, but also the environments he inhabited. Sinatra's conduct showed its strongest manifestation through his The Tonight Show appearances. Johnny Carson maintained a direct yet formal treatment of his guests, but he would not accept Sinatra's disrespectful behavior towards his staff. Carson established a boundary that prohibited disrespectful behavior because he maintained his composed nature. The show needed to maintain its integrity because he wanted to stop Sinatra from using bullying methods. The show needed to maintain its integrity because he wanted to stop Sinatra from using bullying methods. Carson used his authority to restrict Sinatra from appearing on his show, which represented a rare moment of power when he opposed someone who had achieved celebrity status that made him seem invulnerable. The combination of Sinatra's celebrity status with his work methods outside the public eye created an unsettling contrast. The public regarded him as a main performer who brought his exceptional abilities to entertain millions. Sinatra used his backstage power to carry out his dangerous plans, which developed into a darker side of his personality. His unmatched entertainment industry fame stemmed from his bullying behavior, which made people doubt the actual expenses required to attain his achievement. The story of Sinatra became a dual narrative which showcased both his musical talent and his disturbing off-screen behavior. 6. Orson Welles. Orson Welles, known for his larger-than-life personality and immense talent, was no stranger to controversy, particularly when it came to his appearances on The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. Welles's unpredictable nature often clashed with the show's tightly controlled format. He had a tendency to dismiss the work of the crew and the meticulous planning behind each episode. Rather than adhering to the flow set by Carson and his team, Welles would frequently derail the conversation, insisting on dominating the interview, making it about his whims rather than the scheduled topics. He stayed beyond acceptable time limits, which created additional stress for the Welles gathered in the room. The Welles performance, which started as a simple entertainment, developed into an extended show because he refused to allow Carson and the audience to take control of the discussion. The candidate showed frequent interruptions, which derailed the interview process through his self-centered storytelling and erratic conduct. Carson, who maintained a professional image, discovered that Welles's excessive self-importance created obstacles for him. The interview situation caused Carson to lose control because Welles's strong presence made his attempts to create equilibrium between two interviewees impossible. Welles's self-centered behavior destroyed the relationship between him and the crew because he failed to acknowledge their efforts. Carson reached a critical decision point after experiencing one particularly disorganized meeting. He would never invite Welles back on the show again. The situation established Welles as a disruptive force who disrespected the established show format, while Carson showed his discomfort, which led Carson to decide to restrict the unpredictable actor from appearing on set. The conflict between them demonstrated the high-maintenance guest problem which Carson had to solve to maintain his show operation. Keep your eyes peeled, because the next one is going to take on a different level. 5. Bette Davis. Bette Davis, a legendary actress known for her fierce talent and undeniable presence, also carried a reputation for a cruel and confrontational attitude, particularly toward younger guests and crew members. Her demeanor on and off set was often abrasive, leaving many who worked with her feeling alienated. While she was undeniably a powerhouse in the entertainment world, Her interactions with those around her were often marked by hostility and condescension. The actress's sharp tongue and domineering personality became notorious, especially among younger colleagues who were subjected to her biting critiques. Off-camera, Davis's behavior was equally troubling. Excessive alcohol consumption seemed to exacerbate her already volatile nature. Her casual use of sexist and racist remarks off-screen further tarnished her legacy. These offhand comments, often delivered with little regard for their impact, reflected a disregard for the societal norms of the time, revealing a darker side to the iconic actress. Johnny Carson, known for his calm and charismatic persona, reached a breaking point after witnessing Davis's mistreatment of staff during one of her appearances on The Tonight Show. Carson, who had long tolerated various forms of celebrity behavior, found himself unable to overlook Davis's toxic attitude any longer. When she mistreated members of the crew, Carson confronted her directly, an act that marked a significant turning point in his tolerance for such behavior. He no longer saw Davis as the revered star she once was, but as someone whose behavior could no longer be excused. Carson's decision to never invite Davis back after repeated negative experiences was a watershed moment in his career. By drawing a line in the sand, Carson made it clear that respect for those behind the scenes was non-negotiable, even for Hollywood royalty. 4. Shelley Winters. Shelley Winters was known for her unpredictable and often volatile behavior, which made her both a captivating and challenging guest on talk shows. Her interviews frequently derailed into lengthy political diatribes or personal confessions, leaving hosts struggling to regain control. Winters, never one to shy away from discussing her deeply held political beliefs, often used her platform to voice her opinions, which were far from conventional. Her candidness, while refreshing to some, made for awkward moments on live television, as she would abruptly pivot to controversial topics, leaving the host scrambling to steer the conversation back on track. The way she acted went beyond her ability to speak without interruption. Winters displayed a pattern of violent conduct during interviews, which included physical violence that increased the tense atmosphere on set. She would frequently become violent towards her hosts and fellow guests, which resulted in making both the audience and the crew members feel uncomfortable. Her tendency to behave unpredictably made her presence unpredictable because she created an atmosphere of unease everywhere she went. Johnny Carson faced his most difficult challenge when Winters appeared on his show. Carson, who had mastered the art of directing conversations, found himself unable to manage his interaction with Winters. Winters' pattern of interrupting and changing topics prevented Carson from conducting the interview according to his standard procedure. Carson developed tension with Winters, but he maintained respect for her genuine personality. He admired her for being unapologetically herself, no matter how uncomfortable it made the situation. Carson decided to reduce his contact with Winters after she made several disruptive show appearances. Carson reduced her appearances on The Tonight Show because he found her honest approach refreshing, but her disrespectful behavior created uncomfortable situations both on set and backstage. 3. Jane Russell. Jane Russell, a celebrated Hollywood star known for her sultry on-screen presence, became a controversial figure later in her life due to her increasingly extreme political views, particularly regarding LGBTQ+ individuals. As the years passed, Russell's public persona shifted dramatically from the glamorous, beloved actress to someone whose behavior and beliefs raised eyebrows in the entertainment industry. Instances of her making discriminatory remarks, including derogatory comments about a gay makeup artist, and her awkward interactions with the iconic Rock Hudson further damaged her reputation. Russell's harsh stance on LGBTQ+ issues, especially in an era where tolerance was becoming more prevalent, stood in stark contrast to the evolving Hollywood environment. Her open disdain for certain members of the LGBTQ+ community clashed with the growing efforts to create a more inclusive and accepting space within the entertainment industry. This discomfort was particularly felt by those within the industry who valued diversity, leading to strained professional relationships. One such instance of Russell's controversial behavior occurred when she made disparaging comments about a gay makeup artist. which not only alienated staff but also created tension behind the scenes. Russell's comments about Rock Hudson, a known closeted gay actor, further fueled the discomfort surrounding her presence. Hudson, who had to navigate a world of secrecy about his sexual orientation, reportedly struggled with Russell's lack of understanding and respect toward him. The tension culminated in Johnny Carson, the host of The Tonight Show, personally vetoing any future appearances by Russell. Carson, known for his ability to maintain control over his show's guests, could no longer tolerate Russell's extreme views and unprofessional behavior. The contrast between Russell's increasingly controversial conduct and her previously adored public persona highlighted the growing divide between the Hollywood industry's evolving values and the more regressive attitudes she continued to espouse. 2. Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis, a legendary comedian known for his zany antics and larger-than-life personality, had a notorious reputation off-screen, particularly when it came to his treatment of others. His time on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson revealed a darker side of his character that left a lasting impact on Carson and the show's staff. Lewis was often described as demeaning toward fellow guests, Carson, and especially the backstage staff. The particular moment showed Johnny Carson's interviews when Lewis spoke over the host, which created both authority problems and disrupted the natural flow of their discussion. Lewis displayed his huge self-importance through tie adjustments and unapproved gestures, which demonstrated his complete disregard for show business standards. He believed that he should take center stage, despite the fact that Carson maintained his usual composed manner of speaking. Carson, who had extensive experience dealing with various people, became more irritated with Lewis, who displayed inappropriate behavior. The two personalities did not match because Lewis showed his ego through his loud public behavior, while Carson stayed silent. Carson, who wanted others to respect him and his show to run smoothly, made it obvious that he disapproved of Lewis's way of treating others. Carson, who practiced diplomatic dealing with others in business, refused to accept Lewis's disrespectful behavior, which included showing contempt to all staff members. Carson made the choice to blacklist Jerry Lewis from The Tonight Show because he experienced repeated negative encounters with the comedian. Carson's growing need to stop all mistreatment that he saw at the time led to the controversial decision he made. The decision established a major change in their relationship because it confirmed Carson's preference for professional behavior and respectful treatment to show business rules which a star believed he could ignore. The legacy of Queen Charlotte's children stretches far beyond their royal titles. Her reputation for demanding the impossible only seemed to add to her mystique, with fans eagerly awaiting her next appearance. Off-screen, her larger-than-life character and flamboyant persona made her a media magnet, often overshadowing her co-stars. Despite the frustration she caused behind the scenes, the public continued to adore her, drawn to the spectacle of her personality. Do not leave just yet, because our number one pick is coming. 1. Zirce Gabor. Zirce Gabor, a Hollywood icon known for her beauty and bold personality, was equally infamous for her extreme and often unreasonable backstage demands. She insisted on having precise control over her environment, requesting specific temperatures, lighting, and even makeup conditions. These exacting preferences were not just quirks, they were a set of non-negotiable demands that she expected to be met before even stepping onto the set. Such requests, while ensuring she looked flawless on camera, were a logistical nightmare for production crews and often led to significant delays. The staff experienced frustration because Gabor's needs required continuous interruptions, which forced schedule changes throughout the entire show. The late-night legend who hosted The Tonight Show, Johnny Carson, became especially upset with Gabor's continuous schedule changes and unexpected interruptions. Gabor's diva-like behavior pushed Carson beyond his limit because he had developed a reputation for handling high-maintenance guests through his fast-thinking abilities. The show experienced pacing problems because the delays required guests to wait, which created disruptions that affected the entire program's flow. Gabor delivered special entertainment value through her performances, which Carson found frustrating as he watched her. Her charm and wit, combined with her larger-than-life persona, created an enchanting presence that made her an interesting guest, while her backstage requests pushed all staff members beyond their limits. Carson, known for his sharp and biting humor, used Gabor's show presence to create a sarcastic comment. He predicted the show would become The Tonight Show, starring Zsa Zsa Gabor, which expressed his annoyance with her behavior. Gabor maintained her status as a regular guest because her backstage behavior attracted viewers who wanted to see her complete show, whether she was performing on stage or off. Despite the disruptions, Gabor's charm continued to captivate audiences, ensuring her spot in Hollywood's limelight. Her diva antics became part of her mystique, and despite her off-putting behavior behind the scenes, she was a crowd favorite. The public's fascination with her larger-than-life persona only grew, cementing her status as an unforgettable figure in entertainment history. Even as production teams groaned, Gabor's magnetic allure remained undeniable, making her a staple on the talk show circuit and solidifying her legacy as one of Hollywood's most infamous stars. Did any of these stories surprise you? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more juicy tales, and click on the next video to dive deeper into the world of Hollywood's most notorious guests.